hopefully Grace can hear us. I want to get started because it's already after 7. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And do we go around with people's names or how do we do the attendance?
Yeah, Crystal Adams here.
Jean Pillow here.
Lori Barefoot here.
Jordan Stern here.
Pam Spaeth here.
Grace, you're muted.
Well, hopefully Grace Jacobson is here and taking minutes. I just can't unmute.
Is that better? Okay.
Oh, yes, there you
Grace,
are.
we can hear you now.
All right, fine.
We don't need to seat any alternates. We need to get approval of previous meeting minutes.
We do have Janice Routh. How do you say your name, Janice?
Rothstein,
Here as well.
thank you.
As a guest.
As a
Thank you.
guest, yeah.
I move to approve the minutes.
This is Crystal
Anyone
Adams. I
second?
second.
Okay. So moved, is that what I say? I don't know all the terminology.
You run meetings all the time. You don't use Robert's rules?
No, I don't. I don't need to. Okay, so public participation, Janice Rothstein, would you like to say why you're here?
Lori Heist just joined too.
Yes, we're not quite sure what's expected of us this evening and how you would like us to interface. We know that there are public comments at the beginning, and then we noticed later in the agenda, you're reviewing the Eversource plan. So we weren't quite sure where you wanted us and how you wanted to use us. We are here to help and answer any and all questions.
Can you just say, are you a citizen of Woodstock, or are you here as a representing anybody, or?
Well, Crystal invited Lori Heiss and myself tonight. We're members of the Reading Tree Conservancy, and I happened to call your selectman's office, and Crystal picked up the line, and I was asking her what was going on in Woodstock, because your community, like Reading, has been targeted for this extreme resiliency program, and the presentation that you were given and that has been sent to us was given to us in May. We have pushed back against Eversource, but today I sent Crystal some photographs of what's happening in Madison. So we're here at your invitation and are, as I say, again, are ready to help in any way possible to prevent, if you wish, and private property owners wish, Eversource from their extreme removal program, which is cutting down hundreds and thousands of healthy trees across the state of Connecticut to prevent them from falling on power lines and therefore reduce power outages. Although the statistics, even in the scorecard that you were presented, is a little dicey, and we can talk about that as well.
So Mara, I had sent Lee Janice's information and some information that Janice had forwarded me about their group and what they're doing. So that had been sent to Lee, and I thought he had sent it on to the rest of the commission, but I'm not. This was like this was a month ago. This was, I think, the day after we had met at our last conservation meeting.
Yeah, that was great information. I read it and it felt like a lot of work had already been done. And one of the things that we had talked about doing after the meeting is I was going to write a letter. It was going to be addressed to Eversource, and it would state basically what our concerns were. I did write the letter. I only just finished it yesterday and I sent it to Jean because she had offered to review the draft before. But and I'm happy to share it in draft form. However, I think that what you folks have already done is bigger than this letter. You've already more globally addressed it, and it's possible that such a letter isn't necessary. Jean, you've had a chance maybe to just briefly look at that draft, and I don't know if you have any comments on whether or not it might be useful, or whether we address it in a bigger and more global fashion.
This is Jean speaking. I got to look at it as I was signing onto my computer just before this meeting, so I really haven't studied it. I did start to add a few things to it, mostly trying to identify the areas that would be impacted in our town, and it would be just a devastating impact on the scenery of scenic Route 169 to take down all the mature trees along that road. But I ran into an issue where I couldn't find the map, so I couldn't define where it was. So that's where I stopped. I do believe, for the record, that the Conservation Commission needs to agree on a stand on this proposal from Eversource, so that the town people will know that we address this. And so I don't think that it's wrong to continue with putting together something from us to send to Eversource, and to send to the Board of Selectmen as well, an official position from the Conservation Commission. And then I think we should also be sharing this information with the people in town who may have opinions, but have no idea that they need to even think about this, because they just drive down the roads and say, look at the foliage. You know?
That's right. This is not posted on Eversource's website, as far as I can find. It's they're not making the project readily known. I think that there might be some folks along the route that's planned for the resiliency project who might be interested in having a few of their, I don't know, dead trees cut or something like that. But I don't think in general there's any information out there about the project and the major impact that it would have on our town. And it would be really worthwhile if, when Eversource goes knocking on people's doors, people have already had a chance to think about what this impact will be. And they should also have some more information based on feedback from Eversource at the meeting that we had in August. When asked if a homeowner could decline, they said yes, but there are many caveats, such as the town right-of-ways, etc. So at the very least, if we don't request, even if we don't request that they abandon the project entirely, at the very least, it would be really beneficial for everybody who's affected to see where the town byways are and whose property they're on. And because homeowners won't have the opportunity to decline if it's in a town byway.
But I need to,
That's not true. You do have if you are an adjacent landowner to a right of way, you have the right to a hearing and you have a right to contest it all the way up to Pura.
Okay, they said that's the Eversource representative said that they would go to the tree warden in that case. The homeowner wouldn't have the option, but that they would go to the tree warden and the tree warden would make that decision. That's how they presented it at the meeting.
Those are contestable.
Mhm. Yeah. But
also, Laura, I just want to point out that the three of the sections that they were talking about are not town right-of-ways, they're state right-of-ways.
Yeah.
And we recall from when we were approached to plant dogwood trees along the state highways, that it's not clear cut where those right-of-ways are on any of the properties. It's not a consistent setback, and it could be several different setbacks. So, yeah, it would serve a great purpose to learn where those setbacks are if we ever chose to follow through with that dogwood planting or something similar to that in the future.
And you're right, on a state road, the representative from DOT district has the role of the tree warden. On your town roads, the tree warden has the town of the tree warden. On your roads, town roads.
Mhm.
But yeah. Adjacent landowners do have some say they're required to be noticed, and they do have some pushback abilities in both cases.
In Woodstock, a lot of the land that's along these roads is actually forested land. It's not residential properties. And I could just see how, in my mind, just how horrible it would look to
Yep.
have those clear cut as far back as any tree that could fall onto the power lines. It would just totally change the road, the whole scenic nature of our roads. It just pains me to think of this project going forward the way it's been described.
I have to say that I'm sitting on my hands and biting them because Eversource has given you every right to be concerned.
Mhm.
And they are not interested in the scenic beauty of Woodstock. They could care less about the health of a tree. It's their height. I have the good fortune, like Lori, to live in a historic home on Cross Highway, which is a scenic road. And we had an arborist from Eversource come and tell us that 15 of our trees should be immediately cut down because they could fall on the wires. When we had track certified arborists come and evaluate those same trees, they said, this is ludicrous. This is not right. This will destroy the habitat. This will increase soil erosion.
Mhm.
I don't have to really tell you because you have written the letters about conservation and what's important. What is scary here is that Eversource is coming on people's private properties, people who don't know or understand what is a healthy tree or whether it overhangs anything. And they are being told that if they want to stop power outages, as a private property resident, they must do the right thing. In a meeting that we had in May 24th, they bullied people who stood up and said, well, what if I don't cut down the tree? Well, then it will be your fault when power outages occur. Lori stood up and simply said, why can't we have our trees? Why can't we have our power? I don't know if your selectman has created a public hearing on this so that people are invited from Woodstock to join. What was horrifying to us, which started all this, was that Eversource put the announcement for this public hearing on the sports page of the Danbury Times. We only found out about it the day before the meeting was happening. In Reading, which I'm sure many of you know, we had over 70 people show up at this meeting, and they were furious. Kids were saying, how can you destroy the habitat? What are the statistics that you're basing this on? In part of your presentation that they gave you, they say 90% of power outages are caused by trees. And yet in Woodstock, they claim only 61% are caused by trees. What is the other alternative that is causing the power outages?
We
I know
have asked
people-
them these questions.
Yes, we've asked Eversource to give us more intense statistics. They've refused. Even Senator Haskell, when he got him to the table, they wouldn't speak. They wouldn't give us additional statistics. I'm currently with Lori on a committee with Pura to stop this craziness, to look at alternatives, whether it's burying the lines on a short area, whether it's rerouting the lines. They want to cut our scenic highway trees because we supply power to 2,200 homes.
In another town.
That's the level. Do you know how many of those homes are in Reading? Under
Mm.
400. So they are penalizing us for their problems of not being able to prevent power outages. We have galvanized Reading. Our selectmen at first said, listen, it's a great political thing. We have a minimal tree budget. Why don't we let Eversource cut down the trees? Why don't we let private property owners have the opportunity to cut down trees at no expense?
She's come
So
around.
the selectmen allowed initially for this to happen. We mounted signs, we put up "Say No to Eversource." We tapped the people who came to that meeting in May and their anger. We did before and after composites of what it would look like. I know what you're saying. Can you imagine what that's going to look like?
Mm.
And talk about the Department of Transportation. We've even gone so far as to call the Department of Transportation up. I had a great conversation with the landscape design person for District 4. And I said, Eversource is tagging trees. He said, they showed me what they were tagging. And number one, he said, they're not on the right of way. So I'm not going to rule on them. There were 2 ashes that he said I will probably say they should take, but they want to take down a gorgeous oak and a sycamore. He said, I told them no. This is the Department of Transportation. Eversource, according to the Forest and Parks Commission, is removing in their plans 20,000 trees a year in Connecticut. In 10 years, that's 200,000 trees.
We did ask them about how many trees were slated for removal and along these highways here in Woodstock, and they had no idea. They just knew that it would be a massive number. We did ask that. We did also ask about statistics, and I concur with what you just said. They couldn't provide an answer, but one of the questions we asked was, how much did one of the recent major impact storms cost Eversource as compared to how much it would cost to bury the cable instead of cutting trees, but how much would it cost to bury the cable? How does that compare cost-wise to one of the big impact storms? And they said that they could look into the information, but I haven't heard anything back on any of the answers to any of the questions we posed.
We asked that question in May.
Mhm. And
We
have you
sent-
heard back?
No. We
Yes,
sent
no,
it
there's
frustrated.
no
What they-
feedback.
What they say is it will cost millions upon millions of dollars.
And
What they say is that we're going to charge the rate owners throughout the state of Connecticut for doing this. And yet the Public Utilities Authority has created a workforce to look at the infrastructure of Connecticut in the future to bury trees.
Line,
FEMA
buried power
is
line.
recommending power lines, right? Thank you, Lori, to bury power lines. We as a state are becoming more electrified. Our kids are going to be driving electric cars. And yet we're using antiquated poles to deliver electricity. And I think the most scary thing and what keeps me up at night is Eversource, if it gets its way, will go through and level thousands of trees. And then maybe 10 years from now, they'll say, well, we don't have to do that because now we know how to create an infrastructure that can be buried and it'll be just terrific. I do encourage you, Lori and I have talked about this, how important it is because you're saying that many people don't know about this.
You have to share the information.
You have to really, I think,
Figure out a way.
You're the pioneers now in Woodstock to share this information and to get them to give you the feedback as to what is happening and what they feel they want to do with Woodstock. Why Eversource selected a town like Woodstock or Sharon or Reading or Naugatuck. They selected the most beautiful historic towns in Connecticut to put this resiliency project in force. And the
Because we
reason
have more
that
trees
we have the most trees
and we have
And we
roadside
have-
forests. We have roadside forests.
and we have the tallest trees.
Mm-hmm.
Any tree that is over 30 feet tall, and you probably saw in that presentation, they want to get rid of. And they
But
want
more than that, more than just that.
Yeah.
Even a tree that's 80 feet from the power line, if it's 85
90
feet
feet.
tall, yeah, they
Yes,
want it down.
yes.
That's
It's
right.
not just a 30-foot clear cut. It's back further than that.
Did they
Um,
present to you or to other people in town, Lori?
No, they just presented to us. And it was a very meager presentation. These things that we're talking about now were not in the presentation. Those were prompted by questions.
61% of the outages in Woodstock are tree related, which means that after you cut down all of the trees,
Yeah,
39% of the time your power will still go out. You just
Sure.
need to know that up front.
yeah.
Because they throw that back at you and you need to be able to conversely say, no, you Eversource said that only 61% of our outages are tree related. So for the rest of the 39%, which is largely failed equipment, trees, animals, cars hitting trees, lots of other reasons. The
Mhm.
fact is that you can cut down all of your trees and you will still have power
Yeah,
outages.
that's a huge percentage
Yes.
that wouldn't be fixed.
And the heat, the mere loss of property value
Mhm.
combined with the additional cost for cooling and heating those homes that used to have some protection against heat and cold, you will be paying so much more to Eversource without any of your trees, and your properties will have been devalued by 10 to 15%. So after all that has happened, almost 40% of the time in your town with your data, your power will still go out.
Mhm.
So this is where you need to educate the people in your town. You owe that to them to understand really what they're asking you to do, which is sacrifice the beauty of your town, our town, other towns, so that they do not get penalized for having long outages. They picked historically poor performing circuits. And by the way, if you think about it, most of those trees have already fallen down. So they're penalizing exactly that, not the people, but this is their plan to avoid legislatively induced costs for when they have long outages. And they have turned to historically 13 towns that had long outages that are less long now because our trees have fallen down. So the entire logic of it is very, very hard to swallow, but really the residents of your town deserve to know what's happening to them.
I agree.
There's one other piece that I think is relevant to discussion. I had Eversource representative come to my property and he told me that my property was not part of this resiliency project. I was just barely outside the boundary of where that would happen. But he said something that I should know. I was signing for very light trimming of one specific tree. But he said, technically, if I sign now, that agreement's in place for a year. And he was planning to go all up and down the street to just do the light trimming. So anybody who signed that agreement is in place for a year, and Eversource doesn't have to check back with the homeowner again. He said that they do out of courtesy tag the trees, but they don't technically have to. And if for some reason they don't have a chance to meet up with a homeowner, they're legally covered. They can just cut.
To avoid the visual representation of what it would look like to cut down all of the trees that they propose, they are doing something called geotagging so that it's literally on a computer, but they're not putting yellow ribbons around trees anymore on the properties. On the right of way, they're going to have to do that, at least in our town, so that the abutting neighbors can object. But the gigantic number of trees on people's property that they are, quote, tagging it's geotagging, and unfortunately, a lot of older people don't really understand what they're being shown. And quite frankly, even for someone who's an arborist to take a look at one of their geotags and put, you know, tree to dot and things like that is very difficult. And that is so that people will not be able to visualize the impact of what they're proposing.
So steps that we could take next that worked for you in your towns were to speak to the selectmen and see if there could be a public hearing.
Yes, yes.
And make sure that you actually let people know in some way that they can find out about it if you have a paper or.
Don't put it on the sports page.
Well,
Oh.
and ours was somewhere buried in Facebook, but you know, one person found out, every single person who showed up spoke against it, and we signed a petition, and they literally threw that out on their way to their cars. They couldn't care less. And that's when we realized that they actually really could not care less.
So your cease and desist order, is that making a difference or are they planning to proceed?
They had it lifted, we got it on August 24th. We submitted it on July 12th by an attorney. They had it lifted by September 6th. They do have an army of attorneys who can outrun your attorneys.
Mhm.
So that is, we have come to, but what we're suggesting is anything that we can do that we've already created that could help Woodstock or other towns. We just want to give you the leg up that we didn't have because we were the first of the 13. So please, the materials that Jana sent to you, we have a lot more. We have had over 24 people working on this since May. Take advantage of what we've done so that maybe you can beat them at this game a little bit better than we've been able to. I mean, we have pushed them off, but we're literally with our fingers in the dike. And we know that come spring that they'll be back here again. So, and they will propose that they will do planting programs in lieu of whatever, and good luck with that. The entire town of West Haven was promised trees that never came. Besides which, they're going to be replacing incredibly efficient, healthful organisms with proposed pollinator grasses, or maybe an azalea, or a number of non-native offerings. And we are fortunate to have an operating professional arboretum in town in Reading. And they did a calculation for us, which is by measuring the trees and taking that information and circumferences. And they did a carbon capture analysis just on the one property. And it's really quite significant. If you take that and you multiply it, we think that you have 4 segments that they're taking down trees on. We saw the 4 different roads names.
Mhm.
So you, I think, have something like a total of 1, 2, like 8, maybe 8 miles that they intend to do this, maybe in 4 different segments. These are
Oh,
different.
they said 4 or 5 miles.
Okay, so 4 or 5. We didn't know how to add those together.
Mhm.
But I assure you that the volume of trees that they would take down in those 5 miles is enough to change the look and feel of your town.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what it is here. And that's what it is in the other towns. And, you know, you really need to have your Board of Selectmen, at least if not fully in front of you, your effort, at least have them not stand in the way of an effort to modify the program for your town so that your town still survives this very tumultuous attack. And they will tell you that they call this enhanced tree removal program. It did not go to Pura for review because they took an old program that they had not used, but had been passed some years ago, and they've repurposed it for extreme tree removal. They call it enhanced tree removal. We call it extreme tree removal here, but that is why they're kind of outside of the law of Pura. And Pura, by the way, in their response to us on September 6th, when they lifted the cease and desist, they basically said they do not agree with this program whatsoever. They listed a number of things wrong with it. In fact, that letter was so telling that it was published in our paper. This is the lifting of the cease and desist. And in it, they basically say, this is Pura, who oversees Eversource. And they said, there's a lack of robust evaluation of the costs and benefits of this type of work. That does not guarantee that meaningful resiliency will be achieved. Listen to those words. Does not, this is Pura, does not mean that meaningful resilience will be achieved. That's exactly what we said about your circuits, just so you understand. 39% of the time your power will still go out. This is more costly than basic vegetation management programs, and they will likely lead to increased electric rates, And this program does not consider the benefits of retaining tall trees. This is Pura lifting the cease and desist, but telling you that this is a very bad deal coming at you. It is not their job to stop them. We thought it was. Okay, so we made a 3-month mistake.
Yeah,
A 3-month mistake. We thought it was Pura's job to stop them.
I see.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it was not just Reading that went up against, it went to Pura about this. There were multiple towns that went to Pura as well. Am I
The
remembering that
vegetation
correctly?
management team that's Fairfield and New Haven County based, and most of those people, including attorneys, submitted individual testimony to Pura. They read it all. They did put the cease and desist on a very narrow technical mistake that they made, and that's how they got it lifted. What they're saying is what's wrong with that program is what I just read you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that that's beyond their purview, basically. And Pura said to us, well, we can do whatever we want until maybe we get hauled in front of Pura for doing something really awful. Basically, that's what they said in front of our state senator. All right. And they said, basically try to stop. So what we're looking from Woodstock is that we have exhausted 30 to 40 people over the course of 5 months now. We have learned some lessons about Pura. Hopefully you don't make any of the same mistakes that will cost you time. Maybe you can find a way, a better creative, something we haven't thought of. We're hoping that one of our fellow other dozen town victims, someone will find some way to stop this, reevaluate this, modify this, find someone who can or will, whether it's the governor or attorney general. We've been to the Council for Economic Equality. They are a monopoly and they do not care about the beauty of your trees. And they certainly do not care about the value of my personal property.
Right.
So that's why we're here, is we hope we're giving you 100% of what we've learned, hopefully save you time in doing so. Maybe you can find some way, be smarter, know somebody, do something different that we have not thought of that we can benefit from. I've been to Woodstock. It is beautiful, beautiful town. It is a different looking town than Reading, but it is beautiful in so many other ways. And I don't live there, but I would really hate to see this happen to Woodstock. And that is why we came to you guys, because we know your town, and we think that if you told 250 people in your town about what is planned, that people both on the routes and off the routes will be very sad, and they should have this heads up.
Yes.
There's one thing that will almost certainly happen if there's this clear cutting. We have Japanese knotweed everywhere. Almost certainly that's what will overtake that open space. And it's a huge invasive species. Anything that Eversource can provide in terms of little saplings or small shrubs will not survive an onslaught by Japanese knotweed. And what I think we'd end up having is huge swaths of this Japanese knotweed throughout the entire routes that they
Yeah.
have planned.
And Russian olive too,
Yeah,
burning
Yeah,
bush.
I
you know
agree.
you know what's going to move in and grow quickly.
and poison ivy, a little bit of
Oh,
bittersweet
Lord.
mixed in. But Japanese knotweed mostly, I mean, it will overtake almost everything. But if you give it that much opportunity. It's there, it's ready.
So
stilt
we
grass
would
and
want to, yeah, we would want to get from, we would want that plan hearing now that you said that they didn't replant and they said they were going to. I guess we would want a more robust plan then of what was going to happen after. And yeah, how were they going to take care of the invasives? I mean, we would have to try to request that as well. I mean,
I recommend that you get anything they say in writing because you will need your town attorney to go after them. Having them say something to you at a public meeting and then finding that person 9 months later, as the town of West Haven taught us, good luck.
Mhm. Mhm. They
Go
did
to all
say
good
that-
points.
They did say also that they would be open to considering other species of plants that were native to replace these large trees. They didn't say that they would plant with those other trees. They said they would be open to considering it. So
yeah, well, thank you
They've-
so much for
Yeah.
giving us that information. I think we all appreciate you giving, helping us out in any way, and we certainly appreciate all the information. And, hopefully we have both of your emails if folks need to reach out. I don't remember seeing the report from Janice, I apologize, but I'll have to look for that.
that was in an
We'll let
early,
you,
was
we'll let
it
you have your
email?
meeting now in peace.
Thank you.
Heard a lot
If there's
from us.
anything else that you want to share with us, please send it along.
Lori, whose job is it, this is Jordan, whose job is it to stop them if it's not Pura's?
We don't know.
Hmm.
I would suggest public opinion, but we had a very robust media day we had multiple coverage and we were on Channel 12 and they went on Channel 12 and basically fought back. And they know that it's a 24-hour blip. So aside from the governor, and Janice was literally on a call with the governor today to ask him, we don't know anyone, including the governor, who can stop Eversource because they're a very powerful monopoly and they're only interested in saving themselves money and they're not all that interested in anything else. They operate like a corporation that's not controllable. We're hoping that we may have some sway with Attorney General Tong. We actually believe that his slap of $100 million fine on Eversource prompted them to put this aggressive program in place. Kind of like, okay, you're going to mess with us. We're going to cut down all the trees and see what happens. Right. I mean, the timing of it was very close. And we have not found anyone, and we have broadly talked to people across Eversource and found people to talk to people in Eversource. We have not found anyone who would carry our message to the chairman. I mean, the first letter we wrote was to the chairman. That's meaningless. We have not found anyone who would carry a message to the chairman and say that they had any way to affect any change. And so we need you guys in a very different way than you need us. You need us so you don't make the same mistakes and waste as much time as we did. And what took 40 people you can do with 5 people. But if you can find things out or ways in that we haven't been able to find, let us know.
Okay. And I
Thank you
think
so
just-
much, Lori.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just maybe hearing this come up over and over, if enough people hear, about the different towns. So hopefully that could potentially help. We'll see.
All right.
Thank you.
I do think we should be pushing to have a public hearing on the
Public hearing.
discussion, so it's not just us and conservation that's aware of this. And the only reason we became aware of it is because one of our member who's not here tonight saw the letter and brought it up because it was not native trees they were offering to replace the trees they were taking down. So there needs to be a big campaign to educate the public about what is been proposed and what the impact could be. And I think most important is to let them know that they have the right to say no. And if they don't
they-
know that, they'll just say, oh, I have to do this, and they don't. So
And they will be intimidated by the people that come as well. And that is, you find that people are intimidatable, is that a word? Easily
Mhm.
intimidated,
yeah,
much
So
to your
all-
surprise.
All of the scenic road bylaws do not prevent this.
this is not on any of our town scenic roads. It's the National Scenic Byway 169 is just a designation, but it has no there's no regulations to go with it. It's voluntary on the part of the towns. They tried to do a scenic road overlay for Route 169. It never got adopted.
So I was the executive director of the Merritt Parkway Conservancy, so I'm familiar with 169 and the scenic byway because some of the same protections were for the Merritt. By the way, if you've driven down the Merritt, you can see the total destruction of trees
Mhm.
that has occurred along the Merritt Parkway. So I will tell you that we did succeed in sparing the bridges from some disastrous plans, but we lost the battle on the trees. And you can, and we said things like, there will be mudslides on the Merritt Parkway if you do that. And guess what? There were mudslides on the Merritt Parkway.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right, I'm going to sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you
us.
both
Thank you
you
so
for
much.
coming. And keep up the fight, and we'll try to pick it up from up here as best we can with, with our meager budget and volunteer
Good
crew.
luck to you guys. Really,
Thank you.
good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. I think we should move along. Do we have a treasurer's report? Is that Grace?
I don't see us. No, Grace, are you there?
I see her name.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The reason I was late, there's, as usual, things going on with the computer and it's telling me it's not gonna recapture things. I have to change my Zoom setting, but I figured at least I can give you, your budget is 1754. We didn't get the bill for ECCD for the $1,000, so we still have $1,754. And the special is 2161 and 22 cents.
Okay. I don't have a chairperson's report. Communications? That you, Grace?
Treasurer's report. Am I muted again or something?
No, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I need somebody to approve first, second, and approval of all of the treasurer's report.
Oh. Can somebody,
I'll I motion to approve.
This is Crystal Adams. I'll second.
Favor?
Grace, could you speak up? I can barely hear you.
Well, I'm not sure why.
Are you far away from the microphone?
No.
and then Jean's too close.
There, is that better?
Yes, thank you. Well, because I had to turn it up for Grace and I'm like, ah.
There you go. All right. So I've got Jean, Crystal, and no objections. Okay, we'll approve. Okay,
So all in favor?
yes.
I,
Bye.
Aye.
I don't feel like we've always done that, but okay.
Next.
Oh, Grace, did you hear I said communications?
Yeah, no, there was a copy of CT Wildlife. That was it.
Okay, old business, DRC report.
And, Grace, what happened to the notes from that meeting we met when you and I and Lee met?
They're sitting on my computer, Jean. I'm having massive problems with my computer.
Okay. We did meet, I forgot the night, but Lee, Grace, and I met at the town hall. We reviewed the proposal for a 3-lot subdivision for the Inn at Woodstock Hill. And, went through the normal review, what the resources are on the property. The land is prime agricultural soils. It's in the Little River watershed. But the one thing that kind of sticks out as a concern for me on this proposal is they wish to take the 2 new homes that they're proposing, their 2 building lots, they want to hook them up to the sewer system. And I know that the Woodstock Water Pollution Control Authority has a no sewer expansion policy. And so we looked at the soils on the property, and there seems to be soils that would be suitable for a septic system, which I would really like to report to the WPCA before they make their decision or not, so that they could possibly do septic on the property as opposed to hooking to the sewer system. The issue with 2 houses being added to the sewer system is every time we add houses to the sewer system and they pump water out of the ground and then put it into the sewer, it bypasses the Little River watershed and ends up in the Quinnebog River. So as we pump water up and around Little River, it's already a river that has flow issues because Putnam's was withdrawing water for drinking water purposes from the watershed. So if we continue to add to that loss, they couldn't pump this summer. They couldn't use the bypass this summer for a drinking water supply because of low flow. We don't want to contribute to low flow issues, and therefore I would recommend, if they were to do this subdivision, that they do it with on-site septic instead. That was my biggest issue with that proposal. Grace, do you remember anything different?
No, I think you got it all, except, well, ways to consider reducing their lawn area, incorporate native plants and pollinators as.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. So, those minutes, because it was a special meeting, should have been done a week after the meeting, but
Yeah, well,
Lee gave his notes to Grace and she was going to type them up and I didn't follow through to ask for them. So we're late and we're delinquent getting those meeting notes out. So, I'll have to rethink of how I'm going to do this. In terms of this month, I have to set another DRC meeting when Lee returns from wherever he is. Because there's activity on a scenic road, Center Cemetery Road. The Public Works Department wants to make some changes to the road. There's been some issues. There's a cemetery there. A hearse got stuck in the mud. They didn't like that. I don't blame them. And there's one stretch of the road where they have a lot of, mud season is pretty severe, and erosion and other issues. I need to drive the road to look at it before I can, come up with my recommendations. There is a public hearing scheduled for that, and I'd like to get our report done before the public hearing, which is probably the 3rd Thursday of the month. So if anybody wants to be involved in that review with me, I encourage you to contact me and let me know. I do have concerns about the way the highway department manages our unpaved roads. And I can give lots of examples of things they should be doing different. And they want to pave parts of Center Cemetery Road. And I don't know if that's the correct alternative. There are options.
Thank you.
Oh, I also want to bring up that multiple times I have professionally contacted John Navarro and Jay Swan to let them know that there's a company that sells a product that you can put under the gravel roads that keeps the gravel from moving. And they're willing to do a demonstration project in our town so we can see how the product works. And there is just no acceptance from John Navarro that we should try this. And that makes me sad because we can be doing things differently and should be doing things differently.
Did you give him all of the, like literature too, or did you just?
Oh, I had the consultant contact John directly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Over on Taylor Road, I've taken some pictures. There's some issues, and I'm not blaming anybody right now, but I know that they put the they make a way for the water to go, and oftentimes it's right into a vernal pool or into a wetland. And so I don't know in this case, but there's definitely a lot of silt that has got into a wetland. And it is very disturbing to me. And I took pictures. I have not had time to follow up, but I'm going to be asking if this was something that was directed there, or is that just, did it happen on its own kind of thing? It looks like a path was made. So just to have that again, like, can we have that education, you know, maybe try to get somebody to do that kind of about, and I don't know what the solution is. Maybe there, you know, it is difficult. There's a lot of wetlands there on that road. And so like, where does the water go? But I think there might be a better solution than just putting it right into the wetlands and filling in vernal pools with silt is really not a good best management practice. So,
Yeah.
Crystal, is the town still accepting suggestions for the ARPA funds or whatever?
That you can email ARPA 2021, I think, at woodstockct.gov.
ARPA 2021.
I believe that it's on the, if you go to the town of website, it's pinned to the top of the news. Click about ARPA, and the link for the email is right there. So I believe it's ARPA 2021 at woodstockct.gov.
Is there still funds in that account?
Well, I know right now that there are way more requests have come in than what we have funds to cover. And, a lot of it has to do with requests for regarding public health and safety with fire departments and EMS and such things.
Mm-hmm. I had verbally suggested that we have a review of our roads, scenic roads, to see if there's better management techniques, so that once and for all we could say, yeah, we can fix this, or no, it's not fixable. Maybe we should pave it, but hiring a consultant for that purpose. But I never got it in writing. So
yeah, it needs to go, through the email is how we're asking the public to provide their input. And then those suggestions go on a document, and they're presented to the selectmen. And those suggestions can be found on that news link. If you go to the Town of Woodstock website, I've got it pinned as the first news item.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do we have an open space report?
I was not able to attend the meeting. It was a week ago. I think it was October 13th. So not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before. I had other obligations and was not available that evening.
Okay. Does anybody give a P&Z report?
Lee typically does, but I have not read their most recent agenda, so I have nothing to report.
Ag Commission, Grace?
Nothing that actually would concern us. They're very much concerned at this point with definition of farm store and farm stand. And yeah.
As it pertains
Celebrating
to,
agriculture, I couldn't think of it, I'm sorry. Which is going forward, it looks like they're probably going to have it at the Brooklyn Fairgrounds. But that is still to be seen, so. But other than that, nothing with us.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? What was going to be at the Brooklyn Fairgrounds?
Celebrating ag.
Okay,
Very-
thank you.
stewardship. I don't have anything. I don't know if anyone else, I don't think anyone else here is on stewardship that I know of. Pollinator pathway.
I've been requested to give a talk about the pollinator pathway initiative at the Quiet Corner Garden Club annual meeting next month, and to encourage other towns to get involved.
Nice. Sustainable CT.
I don't have any updates.
Has anyone been able to, I know last meeting, Crystal said that people could go and look at their webinar. Has anyone been able to attend any of those?
I've noticed with their webinar schedule, it kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes there's a lot of things that look really interesting, and sometimes some months there's not really much that seems applicable.
Yeah, all right. So as far as the review of the Eversource, I think we had a lengthy discussion, but does anybody want to talk
I-
about what to do next?
Well, I've not said anything on the Conservation Commission Facebook page because I didn't have the authority of the Conservation Commission to represent the Conservation Commission on that subject. So if there is the agreement that this is something we should be sharing, I can start doing that. But if we want to agree on the message, maybe that's something we can hash out tonight. And I don't even have a pencil next to me, so I can't take notes. That was poor planning. And I don't even have a cat on my lap.
Crystal, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I mean, the Conservation Commission can request to use meeting room 1 and have a an open meeting, a conservation special meeting where we would invite the public to come in and learn about this and ask questions about it. I don't know if that's something that we could invite the townspeople, selectmen, open space, and definitely the landowners of people who are going to be affected by this. But like she mentioned, everyone driving is going to be affected because you're going to lose that beautiful view. So I would imagine that many more people than just the people who live on those properties should hopefully be interested in this and learning more.
Should we invite Eversource back to give a presentation again so more people can hear it?
I think we should, because I want to make sure they're getting the correct information, and I want
Right.
to make sure that we're not spreading incorrect information.
That's my concern, but I do want people to be aware of this. And I mean, I like I told you, I've lost all the documents because I saved the emails, I thought, but they don't seem to be in my inbox anymore. So I think my Gmail has been deleting things. So if somebody can resend me the documents that Beth originally shared with us and the PowerPoint that they were supposed to send us.
I think I forwarded you the PowerPoint at the beginning of this meeting.
Okay, I didn't check my mail. This computer is on its last legs, unfortunately. So I will check that. So any documents that I can share with the public, I can share those documents so that people can see it. And then we should probably contact Eversource first to find out when they're available to do.
I'm not in
this thing.
favor of having Eversource come.
You know what? Neither am I.
again. Not in the least, because the message that they're delivering is not the same as the message we want to share with our neighbors here in town. Eversource is sending the message that this is really a good project. This is something that's very favorable. It's going to prevent power outages. But the message that I think that we as a group want to share is not that. We want to share what just was shared with us, that, listen, there's 41% of instances, or 41% of the time, these power outages are not caused by trees. And so we're going to do, Eversource wants to come in and clear cut all of our trees. And there's going to be, even after that, 41% of the time, people are still going to continue to lose their power. Eversource will not share that information with the group like we would probably want to share it. However, Eversource provided slides, and I think that it would be fair to share that as the facts that were provided by Eversource.
I think we should point out what people care about their pocketbooks so much,
Yeah.
of course, then point out how much higher the energy bills are going to be without the tree cover.
Yeah, I wrote an extensive letter, and I think it's got some really valid points about what exactly is going to happen. There's probably 30 points. I haven't seen some of them before in any letters from anyone, but it's just pointing out what are the risks and what are the concerns that we have. It's not really enough, but at least it would be something that we can share with our neighbors here in town.
How about, Lori, we finish the letter and
Yeah.
send it to the Villager as a
Ah.
letter to the editor,
Love it.
and some people will see it. I mean,
Yeah, I think that the rest of the WCC would like to see what's in that letter after you fine tune it, Jean.
okay.
I think that as a group, it would be great if it turns out that we're all on the same page. I know nobody likes to lose their power, but when you consider the consequences of the loss of trees versus the loss of power periodically, it's a no-brainer to me to think about what my preferences would be.
I think it needs to be pointed out that it's not just trees right on the edge of the road, as you
Right.
say. 85 feet back is a big chunk of land.
It's an unbelievable.
The problem
Project.
is that, they're not going to know how many trees that is until they actually get the okay to go ahead and then do that analysis. So that's what's so hard, is that none of us knows how many trees are 85 feet tall that could potentially, we don't know. And so there's a lot of up in the air things, which makes it difficult.
Yeah.
Speaking of up in the
Yeah.
air, I could probably ask Les Sweetnam if he would take some pictures of the areas of impact, and then we can kind of mark out on those areas, or even do it on Google Earth and put some, like, this is 30 feet and this is 80 feet. And if your tree is over 80 feet tall, this far back on your property, they could tell you that they're going to take it down, and or make you feel like it has to come down. And the answer, we need people to know they can say no. That's the biggie on my
Right.
part.
Right.
And I'm very concerned about invasives taking over where we have natural tree stands and even I'm just thinking of all Route 171, but even 169, I drove down deliberately because I don't normally go that part, and just looked at the trees that would be potentially impacted. And I think we need to start taking those pictures and saying, this is what we're seeing. If anybody's got great foliage pictures, that's really when you capture people's attention. Say, this is what we have, and we could lose it. Is that what you want? And that'll get people emotionally stirred up. And so pictures to talk about the project is very, it's just something that we need to get more of. And if anybody is willing to go out and drive around and take pictures of 169 below the traffic light and of 171 going towards Bradford Corner Road, and just say, could you imagine this stretch of the road without trees? And then come voice your opinion about this. And we'll have a meeting about it, and you can come and talk about it, and we can sign a petition. It's not going to do anything, but we can still let people know that we disapprove and educate people that they can say no.
There will be times when they can say no, but their voice won't be heard, even if it's on their property. Eversource was explaining how the situation could work where the property owner could not decline some of those, but it's not completely clear where these right-of-ways are. So
Crystal, did you have a comment?
Jean touched on it. I think education is key to the people who, are going to be approached, that they can say no, but then, to what Lori's saying too about Eversource.
there's also, how do we make it clear and make it known to the selectmen that this is our position?
I think a letter to the selectmen.
All right, we could do our letter to the editor as, this is the Woodstock Conservation Commission joined together and wrote this letter to the Board of Selectmen of Woodstock, and we're sharing it with the rest of the town through this letter of the editor, and hopefully it'll get printed. I can't imagine it not being printed, except probably not until after the election, because there's, but knowing how to get things into the Villager, that if you don't get it there by Friday, it won't go into the paper for another 2 weeks, and just we plan around that.
Do
But-
we have a timeline for being able to get this stuff to Eversource before they make decision, or how, is there a time frame?
I don't
Yeah.
think so. They just haven't started here yet, but I don't know. I don't know what their timeline is. We could ask.
How do we know they haven't started?
We don't.
Yeah, because they're not planning to broadcast it. They're not putting it on their website. They're not letting it be known that this is their plan. They're trying to just make sure that it's quiet and personal with each of the homeowners.
Crystal, they don't need to let the first selectman know or anybody at the town know?
They had a meeting some time ago when to first broach this subject with, but I haven't heard anything from them since.
Okay. Well, I think we need to decide if we're gonna have, I guess, do we need to vote to say that we're gonna write this letter to the first selectman and
Well-
then share it also with the villager, or?
I think
If-
we need to see the letter,
How about if you let me
Yeah.
screen share and I'll put it up if I can find it. Do I have permission to share?
Yeah, you should be able to do that. It should be, yeah, you've got it.
Okay, so I got this from Lori earlier today, and I did start working on some edits, so we'll go through it. I just want to see where I left off.
If you go back up to the reasons that I think that it's probably important to highlight why we as the WCC find this objectionable.
I think maybe it would be better to send a letter to everyone for the
Yeah.
sake of time. You know, we're already kind of going over and what we normally do. So I think if everybody just takes a look at it and then gives feedback, and then at the next meeting, I guess we can vote on to move forward or
I
something.
think
Is
by the
that-
next meeting is too late.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
We need to get, this been delayed too much.
yeah.
And I was hoping to have this done, but I didn't see that she'd sent me the letter. I'm pointing at my computer screen and you can't see what I'm
Huh.
pointing at. Just above the bottom of the page, it starts the
mouse
areas
button.
targeted for this project. That's where I stopped my edits because I wanted to define this area.
Use your cursor mouse to show where you're going.
Over here.
Yeah, we see it moving.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to confirm how far south on Route 169 this clearing area is. Does it go to the Pomfret border? That's why I was looking for the maps. That's what made me not finish. Do you remember? I mean, Crystal said she emailed me, but I'm afraid if I go looking for my email, I'll probably close my Zoom meeting or something on this computer.
No, but there is one slide in the Eversource presentation that's got the map. It's very small, but it's visible if the presentation is available. I can't.
Let's see if I could get there.
Would you be able to move up a little bit on this just so we can look at the reasons? Well, yeah. Could be useful.
Oh, I'm not. Hold it. I gotta.
You can't do all those things at once, I'm sure.
Know what it is if I have other windows open, I can't keep going back and forth.
Oh,
So let me try to see what you're seeing. Okay. So the reasons.
Yeah. Keep scrolling. Here we go. Yeah. Those bulleted points are the beginning of the reasons.
Yeah.
Grace, are you doing this on your phone or a computer? Because I don't want you to be trying to read this on your phone. I can make it bigger. Do it anyway. There.
Hmm.
Is everybody keeping up with the reading?
Yeah.
I think in this letter covers everything that our guests pointed out in terms of their objections.
Mm-hmm.
You know what might be better than a letter to the editor
What's that?
is if someone could, I mean, because this is a lot of information, like this is long. But if we can reach out to get one of the reporters to put this in a news article format versus a letter to the editor, we'd get probably we could get a picture involved, probably we'd get closer to the front page. It might be more easier for them to give us more space. It might be worth reaching out to the villager, Jason Blumenthal, or, you know, one of the writers, one of the people who does writing. This might, you know, this is a lot of information.
Yeah, it is. Not everybody would be willing to read all of this. The reality is there's there are this many reasons why we should have objections to the program. Not everybody wants to read it all, but
Right.
the number of reasons is quite huge.
Well, I think if we did a press release and just touched on some of the key points. So I've never had good success with the Villager actually rewriting something or having an interview. They typically will just print what you send them if they have space. So and
Right.
it's a big issue. If we had if we wrote a captivating first line, like imagine Woodstock without tree-lined highways. That could be that could be happening if Eversource goes through with their resilience project. And I'm just trying to think of how to capture people's attention.
Also, like if where, however, however we submit it in whatever form to the Villager, we want to be sure that we have a date and a time set, to invite people to come and learn more about this.
Mhm. The most visible and prominent scenery that anyone would see going along the highway would be the telephone pole or the poles with the wires.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
pretty
true.
Janice
would-
sent me an email this afternoon, and it had, I believe it had before and after photos of a road where similar work had been done.
Mhm.
And I can forward that email.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be awesome because I
Mm.
could put that right up on the any stuff like that. If I could share it, I could put that on the Woodstock Conservation Commission Facebook page and then share that page with the local Woodstock groups.
Mhm.
I don't belong to all of them, but isn't there like a louder or something?
Yeah.
I think the
I-
crowd is the one that, gets the most
Right.
traction. Yeah.
So, share it that way. There'll be a lot of buzz. People will see this and just constantly put up little bits of, hey, if you guys help me with the picture, send me the pictures. Boy, wasn't this a beautiful scene? Wouldn't it be terrible if Eversource decided that we shouldn't have this anymore?
Right.
These are things that we can get public opinion, people voice their opinion. I mean, maybe some people say, I don't care about the scenery, just don't take away my power. They don't care. But we can also do a keep the woods in Woodstock.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I like that.
Keep
I,
the wood.
I
like
will
that.
not
in Woodstock.
I will not claim that I made that one up. That was from a middle schooler who wrote an essay once for an open space writing competition. I loved it, and I have not forgotten it.
I
But
love that. That's really catchy.
On board,
sorry.
celebrating ag. We've been using that for the last couple of years.
Yep.
I like it. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah. And everybody, whenever I use it, laughs and says, that's wonderful. And it really makes the point.
Mhm.
Well, they can't say keep the woods in Reading and have the same impact, right?
No,
Right.
definitely not.
They could say keep the red maples in Reading.
So
Not quite
anyway,
the same.
if we do have this public meeting, special meeting to discuss this and to circulate a petition that, people are opposed, or whatever we want to do, who will be the presenter? Because I really don't have time to put together a presentation, but I think it's important that we do a presentation, showcasing what we can lose, if this goes forward. And, like I said, it might be an opportunity to take out some ash trees proactively that are going to die. There could be some older trees that probably should come down, but I just don't want to see the whole town just clear cut.
Forested, yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna look terrible. And I just don't see it being a positive change for our town.
No, they're not looking to create a positive change for us anyways. That's not their mission.
It's their own interest because they're there to make money. So
I do
So-
have to say, about the whole burying the electrical lines thing. I mean, I'm married to an electrician, and that is just not a very feasible option for where we live, with all of the stones and the every freeze cycle, the stones moving up through the earth. We have neighbors who, even though you've got to put it in, maybe I think a pipe and so many inches of sand, you know, the people across the street from us, they just built a house, I don't know, 10 years ago. They piped their electrical cables from the road to the house. And within a couple of years, they had to dig the whole thing up because rocks had moved up and something had been cut and they were losing power. But when it's buried, you don't know where it is. You've got to dig the whole thing up. It's one thing to bury cables, you know, out in the Midwest where you might have 8 feet of soil, no rocks, but it's a totally different ball game out here. Hey, baby.
Yeah,
So-
I know they do it on the Cape because that's my mom's. There's a lot of places on the Cape, but it's probably because they have sandy soil and it's
Yeah.
just easier to.
We have those lovely rocks from glacial till. Is that the word for it? When those glaciers dropped all the
Yep.
rocks here? Yeah.
Lori, if we were to have a special meeting, would you like to present what your points were? Because I think they're valid points. But again, using photographs is like with less words, more pictures saying this is what's at risk.
And if we could get your friends in Reading, like, they must have pictures.
I would, I think it could be very useful to invite one of those guests or maybe both to such a meeting so that they could tell about what's happened in their
Yes.
town. But
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say that I might be able to do some presentation, but I'm going to be selling my house. So I am just out straight right now. I'm not going to be able to prepare anything.
Are
So
you moving away from Woodstock?
I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just know I'm gonna sell my house. So, and that's gonna happen over. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's probably
Okay.
information for the general public, but I just don't have a bandwidth right now to do any more preparation. I could present something, but I can't prepare anything else just yet.
I mean, I'm obviously comfortable with public speaking, but
You're great.
but putting together the PowerPoint and I would just probably just use your bullets and put a picture of what our concerns are. But if I'm putting together so many PowerPoints and so many presentations coming up, it's I'm overwhelmed too. But yes, I'm going to ask all of you to help with the pictures and just send me pictures. You could text them to me. That's probably the best way because then I could just use my phone to put them up on the Facebook page. I'll put my phone number in the chat. Oops, that's my home number. That won't work.
Does anyone else have want to comment that hasn't hyped up yet?
I was just wondering if I like the idea of having a reporter or giving it, generating a news article, but just want to point out if they're responsible, they'll probably contact Eversource as well and get their side of the story, right? Which is, fair. But the other thing is I think that letter looks really good and it's very thorough and comprehensive, but maybe it's too much to put in an ad. A lot of that's, the teasers might be the best thing and then save the detail for the public meeting.
Yeah.
Agree.
Good point.
I'd like to have Lee's input on this as well, as far as when we should schedule this. Sitting here without a phone.
Jean, can you put your phone number back up? It was only on for a second.
It's in the chat. If you
Oh,
go in,
okay.
I'm gonna be away for over a week in November, so I'm just looking at my calendar. Oh my God, so full. I won't even be at the next meeting. If we were to do it, I can't do it the week of Thanksgiving. Shoot. This is horrible. I wouldn't be able to do it till at the end of November. That's how crazy my schedule is right now. It would take
Well,
me
that's
that,
when our meeting is. Maybe we should just have it.
I won't be
Can
in,
we
I
have
will
it
I will not be at the meeting. I'll be flying back
29th?
I'll be flying back from Florida that night.
28th, the Monday?
Yep.
Oh,
Should we consider moving the meeting?
Well, the Monday before, I won't be home either.
Well, no, I mean, we can have the regular meeting, but if we're having a meeting with the general public, that can be a special meeting.
Yeah.
Or just like an open forum, like that might be a better term, conservation, an open forum to discuss this. Because if you're having a special meeting, you're bound by, you've got to have an agenda and you've got to have minutes posted by a certain time and you can't go off topic of the items on the agenda. So, having it be an open forum might be a better way.
I never heard of that.
If you have a special meeting, you cannot add things to the agenda of a special meeting.
Right, I've heard that.
There's rules.
Yeah.
Tom Hennick goes over them really well every time he does his FOI presentation, which he's going to be coming out to Woodstock again November 17th. I'll be putting that email out to all the chairs to share with their members.
Well, the first next available date that I have, but that's saying that I have time to put together a presentation, won't be till November 30th. And that's 2 days after our meeting that I won't be at.
so how do people feel
No
about?
idea when Eversource is planning to do any of this?
We do not have a schedule, Grace.
They could already have begun to meet with people, but I don't know. I'm not aware of anyone.
Move us to find out when they're thinking of implementing that in our town and then working around that. I mean,
I don't think they're providing that sort of information. If they would have it on their website so that everybody could see it, would be really useful, but it's not there, or at least I wasn't able to find it.
Well, I mean, reaching out directly to them might be best. We have the woman's, I think Jenna was the person from Eversource who came out and who on our Zoom meeting and gave the presentation.
I'm sorry, Crystal.
Cats play with your hair. Sorry. I don't think we should hinge it on anything Eversource does. I think we should just move forward
Right.
and hope for the best, just assume
Yeah.
that they can't do that many at once, hopefully, if they even start, soon.
Well, they have
I
lots of
certainly
crews.
agree with you. I'm just
Well,
saying-
they're not gonna put that many in one place, I doubt. So, I mean, what else, we're just gonna have to. Because if we hinge it on like, oh, what if we can't get a hold of this person, doesn't sound like it's a good way to do it. We won't get anywhere.
I
How do
just
people feel about the
agree
30th?
Before they did anything, that's why I'm saying it. In other words, after they've started cutting, it's kind of ridiculous,
It's
put it-
not too late. I mean, it's gonna take them a while. It's
don't
probably
think
gonna
so.
take a while for them to get through it all, I would imagine.
Well, I don't know.
So if we start the motion, the wheels in motion to put, what did you call it, Crystal?
Like a
Open forum?
open
Open
forum,
forum.
like a public forum.
Okay, so if we put it to the motion, wheels of motion to set up a public forum for the 30th, which is a Wednesday night, it happens to be the 5th Wednesday of the month, so it's probably not going to conflict with any other meetings.
Yeah,
So if we do that, would you be able to reserve, talk to Judy about setting up that room for us?
yep, I can do that.
And then we'll just, I'll start working on getting some pictures. Imagine Woodstock without this, whatever images that'll get people to be thinking. Maybe we'll put pictures of, trees on a wire. I don't know, but definitely the scenery that I think will be most missed. The mature trees along Route 169 and 171. Not as familiar with Child Road as I am with other roads. We should all go up there and take a look at that too. I remember the shape of the road and that it goes off of 197 and connects with something else. But
Okay,
why that one
so-
came out to be one of the roads, I don't know.
People should
And
know
one
the
seventy-one as
process.
well, did you say?
Excuse me?
171 as well?
171 up to Bradford Corner Road, from Bradford Corner Road to the traffic light.
Yeah, just before the traffic light. People should also be familiar with the process of what Eversource is planning to do. They start by providing a hang tag on somebody's door. And it says you have 10 days to call. If you don't call, then they can proceed with the work. So if 10 days only, if they hang it on the wrong door, or if the wind blows it away, that's acquiescing, that's agreement.
Can you like put that in writing for me so that I don't miss that point? Because I was stupid enough not to get a pencil before I sat down.
Yeah, I'll send it by email. Yeah, 10 days. And you can request that Eversource come out to discuss. And then when they have you handy, they can do a walkthrough and show you what their plans are and attempt to explain why.
So this is what Eversource actually told you when they,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. And I asked specifically about what that process would be because the gentleman who came, he told me that when I was signing for that tree work, I was signing that I was giving my permission for the next year for them to do what they needed to do. And they don't technically have to come back to ask again or to tag trees. So I put a disclaimer in it about what they could do and what they couldn't do.
And I think people need to know that they can do that kind of thing. That's
If they're not on a byway.
right. Okay, so we'll come up with something. But if if I'm just using your points and putting together a shortened version of the letter to the editor, just with a attention grabbing headline, we could also discuss whether or not we want to put an ad in the shopper's guide. That's an expense, so we'd have to vote on whether we want to do that. There are people who do still get information from the shopper's guide on a routine basis. I don't know what they cost to put in an ad, but
They've always been very good to work with, and you can send them over, the information and, get a price from them. They're pretty reasonable, I've found. And yeah, very, they get back to me very quickly when I
Yeah.
put things in.
I think it will be of interest to everyone in town because anybody who's looking for a view would definitely want to see, but specifically those homes that are along the paths targeted for cutting, it might be ideal if we could directly send mail to the homeowners along the routes because they're the ones that are going to make that decision. I don't know if we have money in the budget or capability to pull the addresses.
it's easy enough to get the addresses. They could just pull them right off a DCOG for any of the parcels along the roadway. It's a matter of who has time to do that.
Yeah,
and to create the database. I know I can't do that.
I don't have
there's
time.
there's no database that's already prepared that I'm aware of. I don't know if anyone knows.
No, you can, like I said, go onto the NECOG website, the GIS, and pull up all the addresses, all the homeowners,
Mhm.
and we can make, a list could be made to do a mailing, but
Yeah, it's stuff.
that it's a very time-consuming
Yeah.
process, and I
I
unfortunately
know.
cannot even
Right.
think about doing that.
Uh-huh.
I could teach someone how to do it, but I don't have time to do it.
Does anybody want to do that? Or have time? Okay. So we will hope that those people that are, stay in the loop of some news media will see the either Facebook or if we do an ad.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we put an ad in the shopper's guide, and what would be the most appropriate size, full page, half page?
Well, just for informational purposes, half a page is $156.
I'm good.
Thank you, Grace.
It's reasonable.
That's good. So I make a
Use
motion that we put a half page ad in the shopper's guide to announce the informational meeting or whatever it was that Crystal keeps calling it that I can't for the life of me remember. I
A
don't know why.
forum, a public
Open forum.
forum.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I
I,
Opposed? Okay. So Jean, you're doing that? I take it?
I don't know
Well,
why.
you're gonna come up with it and then we all need to review it, correct?
Well, can we do it that way, Crystal? Is that legal for us to
I
draft
think-
something?
I
and-
will double check tomorrow, but I think legally something could be drafted and emailed. But I think the responses need to be sent, individually to the person who sent it. If you do a reply all, technically that could constitute an illegal and unnoticed meeting. So I'll double check that
Thank you.
for you. But yeah, just whatever we do, just don't do a reply all.
So the same thing with the press release?
Yeah,
Okay. Look, get back to me about that tomorrow. That'd be great.
I will. Yeah, I'll reach out to Tom and he usually gets back to me pretty quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was looking up the price of the shopper's guide and you were talking about sending a notice to all of the people who would be affected in town because we could get their name and address from NECOG maps.
Correct.
Is that what you implying?
Well, we had said that is a method to contact the impacted property owners, but no one offered to do the work to put together the database and assemble the mailing.
Can I ask, does anybody have a rough idea of how many people that would be? How many homeowners there would be? Ballpark.
It's more than homeowners, it's woodland owners too. I do not know.
And what time frame? When would we need to have that?
ASAP.
Thanks.
If we're targeting having a meeting for the 30th, if they got it a week, a week before.
Well, you'd want to probably try to get it even
Uh,
more.
Yeah,
than
the
that.
sooner they get it, because in case Eversource comes knocking at their door.
So I'd be willing to volunteer at least to look into that and maybe to work, Gene, if you could give me some
Okay.
help with that. But I'm imagining it's probably a job of, I don't know, 5 hours or so.
No, yeah, you could get it done in 5 hours. I mean, you just click on each parcel and
Sure.
it tells you the address and the mailing address for the owner. And
I could do that.
Well, it depends. I mean, then you got to get that into some kind of a database.
Yeah.
I mean, it could take longer. You just, until you get into it.
Yep.
And then,
I'm willing to take a stab at
Okay.
it at least.
good.
okay, I'll send you the link to the NECOG GIS, and if we have to have a Zoom meeting so I can demonstrate, I'll be happy to do that with you, Jim.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay, do we have any more actions we need to take, or are we good?
All right, next agenda item. I think
guess
we
not.
got it. We're gonna do a shopper's guide ad, a letter to the editor, look into it, doing a mailing and setting up the forum for the 30th. I think that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, maybe putting it on the Woodstock Proud page.
Yeah, well, once I put it into the Conservation Commission Facebook page, then I can share that to the Proud. So it's not coming from you, it's not coming directly from me, it's coming from the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
What time are we thinking that meeting? The forum.
I think 7.
7 is friendly to people coming home from work.
Yeah, all right.
Mhm.
Kind of late, but for me. Because then I don't go until I don't know what time. All right. New business. Any upcoming workshops? Anybody gone to any workshops? Jean?
I told Lee I was going to bring this up. There is a workshop coming up. It's being put together by the Yukon Center for Land Use Education and Resources. It's about trail mapping. I can share my screen maybe, and where's the share screen thing? Here we go. I can find it. No, I can't. Never mind. Anyway, they have a workshop coming up that will teach you how to map trails. And we've talked about this in Woodstock for a long time, and it'd be a great opportunity to learn a new skill. And then this winter, hike all the trails in Woodstock, the 50-acre wood, the little one behind Senexit Village, any trail there is at Roseland Park, any trails we have, we can make a database of these trails using this tool that they'll teach you how to use. So what I'm going to do is share the link to register for the program. So anybody who chooses to want to participate can. I'm not going to offer to be the lead on this project, but it is something we've talked about doing, and it could be a fun activity to go check out all our trails and map them as a group.
And so are you saying that then that would be like a digitized, and you could put it on our website?
We could put links to it on our website. Yes, it goes. Let's see if I could find. I don't like.
That's okay. We're kind of running short on time. I think it's Avenza is the app, right?
I think
Avenza?
so. Yes.
Yeah, I've used that. It's very easy. Okay.
So that's there. I don't even have the date in front of me. I can forward the email to everybody. I got it on my work computer, but I sent it to myself here so I could bring it up tonight. I'd also like to share about another workshop I attended. This one was by Linda Colangelo, who's from the Northeast District Department of Health. She gave a presentation about Health Quest and all these concepts of trying to get people to be more physically active. And there's currently a project spearheaded by a pediatrician from the Children's Medical Hospital called Connecticut Outdoors RX, where they are working on, they actually developed a prescription pad, which is not, authentic one, but it's, for doctors to write prescriptions for people to get outside with their children. And the idea that we have to go that far to tell people to go for a walk is pretty sad. But there's a big effort to try to promote outdoor activities. And I just thought that was really cool. And that's why this trail mapping thing that came up right afterwards kind of rang a bell with me, that they were compatible ideas.
Okay, Crystal, did you have one?
Yeah, so just wanted to repeat that November 17th, which I believe is a Wednesday at 7, Tom Hennick, who's the public outreach, public information person from the Connecticut Freedom of Information Commission, will be back in Woodstock, and he always gives a great presentation on FOI and how that relates to board and commission members and how we run our meetings and our agendas. And he takes a subject that can be very dry, and he uses local real life examples, and he does a very great presentation.
That'll be November 17th.
Yes. Yep, and I'm putting together a flyer now, and I'll be putting that out to all of the board and commission chairs to send to their respective members.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did find the email about the trail mapping with Avenza Maps. That's December 7 from 1 to 2 p.m. It's a Wednesday.
Oh. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Open discussion. Jean, anything else?
Hold on a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Kakiwik is on the 29th of October. That's this weekend.
Is anybody going?
Well, I will be there. I'll be doing a display for the Sipwick, but nobody else has contacted me to pay for it, so I didn't assume anybody was going. Also, Connecticut Urban Forestry is on this Wednesday down at the Aqua Turf Club. If anybody's interested, I am going for that one. If anybody would like to go, they're still holding, people that can come. So I did go to the Massachusetts one that is kind of the equivalent of our Kakiwik. And they did have a lot of information specifically for their Conservation Commission people, which does not apply to us because they actually have power in Massachusetts. They can tell you what to do. But they did have some very interesting things about forestry, and specifically a couple of towns have to deal with coverts, and it's very expensive when you get under state roads. I mean, you can talk about, and they were telling you how to deal with getting grants for these things, but that they're very important. And I had said to them, when I was in New Jersey, I dealt with it, but the state was responsible. And they pointed out, yes, if it's a state road that the coverts are under, but for anything else, it could be the responsibility of private property owners. And it was very informative. But other than that, I think that's it. Oh, and Sipwick conference is November 3rd. It's virtual. You can still sign up for it. And we actually have already had 285 people sign on. So as always, it will be very informative. We have a lot of ideas on dealing with native, or I should say non-invasive, non-native problems that people run into and how to deal with them. So if you're interested, as I say, you can go on the website and it's there.
That's the Connecticut Invasive Plant Working Group, correct?
Yep,
Dipwig.
yes.
Thank you, Grace.
Um,
Open discussion.
I
Jean,
just really quick, I went on a Walktober hike on the Nightingale Forest, which is partly in Woodstock and mostly in Pomfret. It was a really nice hike. The trails are very well marked. You can access it from Quarry Road in Woodstock, and it comes out on Swedetown Road, which is Quarry Road when you get into Pomfret. It's a beautiful forested piece and one of the newest acquisitions from Wyndham Land Trust.
is that the one that would hook up if we ended up giving them some of that Woodstock property?
Yes, if the Quarry Road parcels, which I think there are 5 of, those abut the Woodstock end of that trail.
Wow, nice.
And then we were not far from the road to the town-owned parcel they call the Perrin Road parcel with 100 acres when we were there. And Mr. Petroziba is no longer in that house, and I couldn't help but notice the gate was open when I went by. So I don't think we'd be stopped if we wanted to go walk on Woodstock town land and have to get a legal agreement to go walking on town property. Which is a nice change.
Okay. Crystal,
Nope, I don't have anything.
Laurie,
I don't have anything.
Grace,
Jordan was at the Little River meeting. That was this month, wasn't it?
yeah, I haven't got to him yet. Grace?
Oh.
I don't hear anything. Pam?
No,
Jordan?
That's the Little River meeting. Was that this month, Gene? I thought it was last. month.
I don't remember.
You can tell people about it if you want, if you can remember.
It was just an interesting meeting. They talked about we had a tour by the owner of the farm, I guess, with all the manure and how they deal with it and all that. It's kind of interesting.
Elm Farm,
Yeah, town farm.
Matt Peckham.
Yeah. I don't know what I was getting into when I got there, but whatever.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Jim,
Nope, nothing.
did I get everybody? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
make a motion. I'll make that motion.
Who's
Second.
that?
Motion to adjourn. Pam. Spence.
Pam.
Who- Okay,
I'll second.
Jean seconded. Meeting is adjourned. Good night, all.
Good night.
good night.
Good night.
Right.